Hey guys, Darren Asbury here with Revital Outdoors, bringing another exciting podcast tonight. Tonight we have Mr. Randy Dover. Randy finished in the top 5 last year in the Bulldog Division for the BFL tournament on Lake Lanier. That first tournament for 2022 is coming up in a few weeks, so we're very excited to have another top 5 finisher from last year. Randy's going to talk to us about his tournament and what he predicts for this year, so a very exciting podcast. Before we get started, if you've never heard of Revital Outdoors, make sure you check out our website, www.revitaloutdoors.com. We're a premium CBD company. We're THC free, made right here in America. Have great products for all the outdoor enthusiasts. So please check out our website. And then also check out our social media accounts. That's going to be Facebook and Instagram. And then, as always, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you get notified when all of our content is dropping. We have a lot of great content coming in the near future. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring him right in, Mr. Randy Doe. All right, how you doing this evening, bud?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking time. I know it's a busy schedule going on right now, getting ready for the tournament season there in Georgia. Just excited to have you on. So, talk to us a little bit. Like, what do you like? How'd you do your tournament last year in Lake Lanier? What do you expect for this year? How far away do you live from Lake Lanier, and why is it that you jive with Lake Lanier so good?
So to start off with, I live about 100, maybe 200 yards from the lake. I was born and raised on it. I got to see it change from where 12 or 13 pounds was winning to now, if you don't have 20 pounds Saturday or Sunday on the weekends, you're not going to win. This is probably one of the best lakes in the country for spotted bass, in my opinion. Mainly, yes, sir. So I've learned just by living on it. I spend a bunch of time, and time out here is money. So that's what I guess that helps me the most. And then understanding deep, clear water. That's this lake to a T. That's what helps me, just spending time on the water the most.
Absolutely. Practice is everything. So it's really cool to talk to an angler that spends a lot of time on the water, even though he lives on it. So that's really cool. So talk to us about the springtime fishing. Well, actually, let's back up your tournament last year. Top 5 finish, Bulldog Division, BFL. What happened last year? Were you just running history that you know very, very well on Lake Lanier, or what panned out to be successful for you?
Last year was a kind of a unique deal for me. With the MLF tournaments, you're randomly drawn, and this time of year, January, February, early March, a lot of fish will stage in pockets on bait and different things like that. And depending on the number you got and how well you know those places, it can really affect your starting places. So I came down the lake, in the first 2 places I wanted to go into, which I thought would give me a good starting point, a 12 to 14 pound bag to build on and try to catch a big fish later in the day, were taken. So I moved on to my 3rd or 4th stop. And even in that place is a big area. There was still a boat. He was further back than myself, but I pulled in anyway. I drew a gentleman. I don't remember his name, but a fantastic gentleman, a little bit older fella. And we pulled in, and I said, hey, these fish are deep. At that particular time, I was fishing in about 40 to 50 feet of water on the edge of a timber. Wow. We pulled up there. They were there. It took me a minute to get them to react, and I was catching them on a worm and a fish head. And they wouldn't eat the fish head to begin with. That's normally my bait that I use to find them and target them with. And I ended up catching one on a worm and kind of fired the school up and managed to catch a limit there that was about 12 or 13 pounds. I had 2 decent fish, and from there I was able to move and do a little more big fish targeting, where you get a lot fewer bites, but they're generally larger fish.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. You said you were fishing wood. So were you fishing just the flooded timber in Lake Lanier, or did you have brush piles that you found or maybe you put out?
Well, typically this time of year, a lot of the fish are in the more natural stuff. They'll be in the timber itself. The lake is known for brush. It's known for having it. But a lot of the fish, the big schools, will pull off of that and get in these, people call them ditches or stuff like that, but basically they're coves that have old creek channels and different things in them that the fish can kind of set up in. A lot of times they'll sit in the timber and ambush bait, or I don't know if they just feel comfortable, but I think it's more of an ambush point, and they could use that structure. And if you go in those pockets where the the cove stops and the slick bottom, and it'll get into the timber. And most of them you're going to find fish. Some of them have a lot of fish. Some of them only have very few fish. Some of them have 1 pound fish. Some of them have, they'll average, like you'll have coves that'll have, or pockets or ditches that'll have 1.5 to 2.5 pound fish, or you'll have them that'll have, so the better fish, maybe just not as many. So.
Okay. Well, then, if you don't mind me asking, how do you break it down? I mean, obviously, you can find fish in a lot of the different coves this time of year on Lake Lanier. What is that little bit of extra that you look for? Are you're looking for structure, but are you relating to maybe a main lake point, secondary point, a spawning flat back in the cove? Is it related to the river channel? Is there a lot of current going through it? Or are you looking for bait? Are you looking for those schools of blueback herring in Lake Lanier that, are around with the structure where you're fishing?
Definitely bait is a key. I think that, I've learned more and more, especially with the new technology, the forward facing sonars and stuff like that. It's helping you learn that those fish follow that bait a lot of the time. Whereas later in the year, there'll be a lot more structure related where natural cover comes in and they're waiting on bait to move across. I think the fish this time of year have a tendency to maybe be in one pocket for a week or something like that, and the bait move out and the fish follow them. They don't necessarily just reside there the entire time. They'll move with the bait. So bait is a huge key. It's a big part of being able to fire off the school. And once you get them feeding, a lot of times you kind of better do your work, because that seems like that's the easiest time to catch them. And then sometimes they'll die off and it'll take you 20 or 30 minutes to get a bite, and you may get 2 or 3 bites again. So definitely bait, and the positions on the lake, it tends to be better further back in the creeks. There, that's where the bait is for whatever reason this time of year. Sometimes the ones closer to the main lake have bigger fish, but not as many fish.
I gotcha.
Bait, definitely cover, and more fish in the backs of the creeks going towards.
Okay. So you mentioned throwing an underspin and a drop shot worm. Do you still have the jerk bait on the deck? Do you still have that Alabama rig on the deck, or are you just a 1-2 punch and that's what you got confidence in to target those fish deep in that structure?
So in my opinion, with those, when I fish the trail trying to qualify for regional stuff like that for the MLFs, you have 2 styles of fishing. You have the one to make that top 40, because those things are absolutely loaded with hammers. And what they tend to do is they'll draw out the best in Lake Lanier. Whenever you guys come here, there'll be some guys that just try to cherry pick, and they're the really good guys. Not that everybody in it isn't. And what that does, in my opinion, is if you fish and you're trying to make it to the regional because you're trying to make it to the All-American, then you're trying to play it safe. So you're going to do kind of like what I did, as far as I run down the lake, and I want to make sure I've got that 12 or 13 pounds. And that's typically my underspin, and it's maybe a jig head worm or a Ned rig. And then once that's over with, I have a jerk bait, I have an A rig, I have a jig. And depending on this lake is very weather related. If it's bright, sunny, and slick, it's tough. You're going to have to with that worm. The underspin may not work as well. You may only get a few bites on it. Then you definitely, it leads towards the worm. If it's real heavy wind and the wind's blowing in the back of the pocket, sure, man, I'm going to head to the back. I'm going to jerk it. And then I'm going to throw an A-rig, down the gut or around boat docks and different things like that. So that's the weather definitely impacts the day for sure. And it's in rain. We're supposed to get rain coming up, in the next few weeks, quite a bit of rain, and that'll stain the pockets. Typically that brings fish to the bank no matter where you are in the country. So that'll affect it.
Absolutely. So I know, and we just talked about it, that Lake Lanier is probably one of the best spotted bass lakes in the country. As far as lakes east of the Mississippi, I would give it the nod that it is the best. It's hard to compete with those lakes like Shasta and out west with the spotted bass they have. So, but I would say it's the best east of the Mississippi. That being said, are you just targeting spotted bass, or sometimes do you mix in and catch a few largemouth? Even though you're not meaning to, are they still mixed in with those spotted bass?
We call them lost most of the time when we catch them. Now, what I will say is, just this weekend on Saturday, there was a local tournament here that held quite a few boats, and it was MLF format where you have a angler and a co-angler, and the angler by himself had almost 25 pounds of spotted bass. He had 2486, had 2 6-pound spots. And then, some solid fours to go with it. So, close to a 5-pound average, which is, it's remarkable.
That's unbelievable.
And you had a bright sunny day with some wind, maybe he had the right condition. That gentleman has something special, a real good fisherman. And then followed up on Sunday, 2 locals here, they had another like 20 or 30 boat tournament where it was a team event. And the guys weighed in 23 and some change, and they had a mixed bag. They had 2 7-pound, or like a 7 and a 6, and 3 spots to go with it. So me, like I said, if I'm going to get my points, I'm going to try to just climb as much as I can. Go ahead and get my 12 or 13 pounds. It's going to get me, there. And then this time of year, largemouth will play a role. I think it'll have a big impact on whoever wins in your event. In doing that, to kind of throw some bones, that once the elite guys came here and the MLF guys came here near the same time, a red crankbait, caught fire here. And if you throw a red crankbait enough, you're going to catch both big spots and largemouth. Where you throw it impacts that. There's places where you can throw it where it's more largemouth oriented, maybe in really or everything against the bank in the backs of creeks, and then you may be able to get closer out to the main lake and catch spots. So that's
okay.
where I change. Once I have my 12 or 13 pounds and I start trying to get the big fish, I may have my jig, a crankbait, and that A-rig, and a jerkbait. I'm going to do something like that. So, yep, definitely.
Absolutely. So, well, Randy, one last question, a couple last minute thoughts here. As far as a co-angler goes, let's say you were fishing this tournament as a co-angler, you were going to take 2 or 3 rods. And I know that sounds like not very many rods, but truly I don't think you need many more than that as a co-angler, especially on a deep spotted bass lake like that. What 2 or 3 rods are you taking if you're a co-angler?
This time of year, I try to help the people that are with me a lot, because they're a little bit handcuffed, but they're also learning. I would definitely have a Ned rig, if whatever you're most comfortable with, a Ned rig, a shaky head with a Cinco or a mag shaky head, and then here typically green is good. Zoom makes that beat down worm that goes on the little Ned rig. And what happens if those, for me, my co-anglers, when I tell them, hey, look, once you net my fish, most of the time I'm drawing fish back to the boat. You need to get your worm down there then, because you're going to have a real solid chance of picking off one.
You just gave away a lot of juice with the color that you just talked about and what you just talked about as far as getting bites. For the co-anglers listening to this, that is, Randy just hit on a good point. When he's throwing a reaction bait and he hooks into a fish, that school's going to follow that fish. They don't know what's going on. They just see their buddy going away immediately. God, I'm giving away too much here, but I would pick up a shaky head before I grabbed the net and went up to the front. I would grab a shaky head and throw it out, kind of don't go over the man's head, don't go past that bow, but kind of throw it in the direction that fish is coming, because them fish are going to go directly back to the bottom when they get to that shade line of that boat.
You got
so just a little tip out there. So, well, Randy, it's been an honor having you on with our podcast for Revital Outdoors. We're talking about Lake Lanier. You got a top 5 last year, so congratulations to you. We're going to be rooting you on this year. But any final thoughts before we let you go tonight? Any family you want to thank? Any sponsors you want to mention? Anything at all that helps you, Randy Dover, as a tournament angler from the state of Georgia?
Well, I'm a Christian. I believe in the Lord strongly, and I like to thank the Lord for everything I have, for sure. Obviously, my family. If it wasn't for my wife and my kids allowing me to, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I've always had Lawrence has helped me a ton. I fish with my team partner, retired from Lawrence. His name's John Peters, probably one of the best guys in the world. Just a big one thing that's pretty cool is if you guys are local here, not to take anything away from MLF, but there's a team trail here that's run by Boating Atlanta. It's the Skeeter Trail. Those guys really do a jam up job. They run a superior, trail. That's a team event that's real runs fluid. It pays out well and does well. And, you know, everybody here, this is a great place. You guys should be pumped if you haven't been here before or even coming here. It's just pumping out big bags every day. So, and I thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Randy, it's been an honor having you on. Again, we're going to be looking forward to the future this year. We'll be rooting you on, and we hope to have you again on our podcast very, very soon.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, from all of us at Revital Outdoors, I'm Theron Asbury. Again, we've been talking to Mr. Randy Dover, top 5 finisher last year from the Major League Fishing BFL tournament on Lake Lanier. That's the Bulldog Division. So from all of us at Revital Outdoors, be safe out there. God bless, and we will see you on the next podcast.